Nancy Peterson here, Ride with Peterson. As y'all know, I am currently on I'm on a thing for Assembly Bill 5, and that bill, when it becomes law, because it will become law, um, it's going to affect a whole lot more people than just rideshare drivers. It's going to affect millions of workers, and it will have an impact on the economy in the state of California. Um, this is something that um, a lot of drivers have fought for and have sacrificed for, and what they have hoped for is going to happen. But it won't be a Disneyland ride like we hope it would be. Hey everybody, how you doing? It's good to see you on the live stream. I appreciate it very much. Right now I'm on a roll talking about Assembly Bill 5 because it's going to impact all of us drivers one way or another. And so I've been receiving a lot of comments about Assembly Bill 5, especially when I posted the email, when I posted the video stating that we are required to have business licenses. Rideshare Lolita, good evening. How you doing? It's 6:20 right now. Thank you. Eric Joaquin, how are you doing? Hello to you too. Let's see some of the other people. Um, um, Fry Guy Zero, how you doing there? Darius Smith, I'm doing all right. I'm currently, where am I? I'm currently in Chino right now. I'm at my favorite barbecue spot in Chino. I love my friend's barbecue. Romeo Bacala, hey, I'm doing okay. Mr. Schneider, George Schneider, hey there, what's going on? Let me see, Louis Aguilar, hey, what's up, man? I'm doing all right, doing okay. We just want fair compensation. Fry Guy Zero, the only way that's going to happen is under is when the companies are considered when the workers are considered employees. That's the only way it's going to happen. Well, we'll talk about the barbecue another time. Birmingham, Alabama. Mark, I've been looking at affordable houses in your city. It is amazing what you can get for less than $20,000 in Birmingham. I have a friend in that city who is actively trying to get me to move out there. He thinks what I'm doing in California is completely insane, and he's been sending me marvelous homes out there. That's amazing. Hey Dewey, how are you doing? I'm doing all right. I'm hanging in there. Okay, everyone. So look, I'm talking about Assembly Bill 5, and it's important that as a driver on rideshare, and this is something you gotta understand completely. You've got to understand this completely. We are already employees as far as the ABC rule is concerned. We are already employees. What Uber and Lyft is trying to do is they are trying to get this work classification that we have, a rideshare driver, they're trying to get it exempted from the rules of Assembly Bill 5. The state of California's Supreme Court has already ruled that if what we do for the company, we are already employees unless we pass the ABC rule. The rideshare companies have a problem in its current state passing rules B and C of the ABC rule test. It's just that simple. So let's review quickly what the ABC rules are, so you'll know what exactly we are dealing with here. I'm going to read these. I'm going to read them to you. I got to find them because this is, let's see, Borello test. Okay. Under the old rules, so you'll understand where we came from and where we are now, there was what was called the Borello test. And that case was established the independent contractor rules. Um, let me do this. I'm gonna answer your question real quick, and then I gotta be solid with how I explain this to you. If we become employees, can we still deduct miles? No. But what you will be able, you know what, here's the deal. That's where the problem is, because see, Uber and Lyft, if we become employees, if we use our own vehicles, Uber and Lyft will have to reimburse us for mileage, gasoline, maintenance, all that stuff. We'll have to be reimbursed for it. Because we're using our own vehicles. Now, if Uber provided us with the vehicles, then no, we wouldn't be able to do it. So that's how it is. Consider this. Think of it like this. We're gonna break down drivers into 4 classifications so you understand exactly how you have it, okay? First, you have, let's say, the bus driver, okay? No, not doing food delivery. I don't make enough money on food delivery. I'm doing rideshare. And believe it or not, Postmates, DoorDash, Grubhub, they all fall under this thing too. They will not be able to keep this thing as independent contractors either. It's going to affect everybody in the gig economy. It's just I talk about Uber and Lyft because that is where my energy is focused on. But I can still do Postmates and DoorDash. I can flip them on right now if I want. But the thing is this, I very quickly realized I missed getting those trips that were 100 miles long, and you can make a big pop of money with just one trip like that. That's not going to happen with food delivery. And hopping in and out of the car every few minutes, that kind of drove me crazy. So, but I found some great food spots. Okay, look, I'm going to focus on this because I have to, because last time I was chastised for it, and it was actually a good criticism, and I appreciate that. So this is where we're going to go at here. The old Borello test was settled back in 1989, okay? And they had, depending on who you talk to, anywhere from 9 to 11 different criteria that had to be met in order to consider a worker an independent contractor. So I'm going to read all 11 of those to you so you'll understand where we were before, okay? Let me see. Number 1 is whether the person performing work is engaged in an occupation or business that is distinct from that of the company, okay? So that was the first thing. Secondly is whether the work is part of the company's regular business. Number 3 is whether the company or the worker supplies the equipment, tools, and the place for the person doing the work. Number 4, the worker's financial investment in the equipment or materials required to perform the work. Number 5, the skill required in the particular occupation. Number 6, the kind of occupation with reference to whether in the locality the work is usually done under the company's direction or by a specialist without supervision. Number 7, the worker's opportunity for profit or loss depending on his or her own managerial skill. A potential for profit does not include bonuses. That's important. Number 8, how long the services are to be performed. Number 9, the degree of permanence of the working relationship. Number 10, the payment method, whether by time or by the job. And number 11, whether the parties believe they are creating an employer-employee relationship. Now, here's the thing. With the Borello test, the companies did not have to meet all 11 of them. Usually they would pick and choose which ones they qualified for, and they said, okay, well, you as an Uber, as a worker for Uber, you are considered an independent contractor because whether the parties believe they are creating an employer-employee relationship. When we sign the agreements with when we log in, it specifically says we are an independent contractor, and because you agreed to it in the terms of service, bam, you're an independent contractor, you're issued a 1099, and that was it. And they could disregard everything else. But there are other things. The payment method, whether by time or by job, you realize the payment method in here was kind of like a mix of both, but ultimately it was by the job, because you got paid to pick up and deliver people, and bam, you got paid for that. Like each trip I do on Lyft is $2.80. The degree of permanence of the working relationship, you can do one trip a month, or you could do a trip a minute. I mean, that's just how it worked. Let's see, how long the services are to be performed. It's basically at will, because you figure, hey, the driver can be deactivated at any time for any reason whatsoever. They don't have to keep you around if they don't want to as an independent contractor. Number 7 is the big one, the worker's opportunity for profit or loss depending on his or her own managerial skill. That's a core tenet of being an independent contractor. Well, under the new ABC test, all of that stuff I just said went out the door. All of it went out the door, because the old Borello test over the years became a magnet for abuse, and the court wanted to address that situation, and so they did a lot of research and looked into what other states were doing, and they came up with this ABC test. And the ABC test was fairly simple. Part A, is the worker free from control and direction under the contract? Part B, does the worker perform work outside the usual course of the hiring entity? And then Part C, is the worker customarily engaged in an independently established trade or business? Okay, now this gets to why I decided to live stream this and talk about it, because this is something that we have to completely understand. Hey, what's up, Tampa Man? How you doing? I got to be solid with this video, because I was criticized for not being solid with it. So all of your questions I'm going to answer when I get through this. I need about 10 minutes to break this down to you. Okay. The reason why we are we are employees is because of one very important thing that we all need as rideshare drivers in the state of California, and that is commercial insurance. Here's the thing. When Uber and Lyft, let's grow back a little bit. When Uber first came about, Uber worked with limousine companies. They gave them a platform where they were able to solve their biggest problem, which was to get new customers. Now, the big limousine companies, for the most part, they knew how to get customers. But for a new guy who's starting his own company, and he had his one little Lincoln Continental, and he spent all the money, I'm sorry, not Continental, Lincoln Town Car, got to get it right. He went and spent all his money on a Lincoln Town Car, and he spent $1,500 on a Class A TCP permit in the state of California, and he's spending $4,000 every 6 months for commercial insurance. Then he had to go out there and start getting business. And he would go out there and he would do what's called either he would farm in or farm out work. The big company would farm out work to the smaller guy would farm in these deals, and he would make money, and he would split the money with the limo companies. Uber comes in and say, hey, we can put you on this new application, and you can make all this money by working on our platform. And the reason why Uber did that was because the limousine company, they were independent contractors. They still are independent contractors. The limo company owned the business. They have their own corporation or LLC. They have the TCP permit. They have the airport permit. They have the commercial insurance. They have the commercial vehicle with the commercial registration. They did the vehicle inspections. They did all that stuff. The only thing Uber did was gave them the framework. All they did was give them the little framework to get customers on a software platform, and it was beautiful. If Uber kept it just like that, Uber wouldn't have nothing to worry about, because all they would have are a bunch of independent contractors driving around. Now we have BMWs, Mercedes, Lexus, and whatnot, because you have independent businesses working with Uber. In essence, what you have is a business-to-business relationship, a true independent contractor. With Uber Select, Uber XL, Uber X, everything changed because of commercial insurance. And this is why it became a problem. First, it was cool to get in your car and drive people around and, be happy driving folk around or so like that. But inevitably, people started having accidents. They started having accidents in their cars. Some people, no problem, minor fender bender. Some people, cars got totaled out. Some people got injured, and some people died, all right? And people started making claims because, hey, you got your Allstate, you got your Farmers, you got your State Farm, and you're driving around because Uber's telling you it's okay to drive because, hey, Uber is a multi-billion-dollar company and they gave you this fancy app, and your insurance company comes back and says, hey, we're sorry, but we can't cover you because you were using your vehicle for commercial purposes. Your insurance only covers you for personal use. So now these drivers are on the hook for tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars because they did not have proper insurance. So what ended up happening was eventually companies started coming up with this little thing that we call rideshare coverage. You use your vehicle during rideshare purposes. Your premium doesn't go up too much. You can use it for personal use. You can use it for business use. It's a hybrid between commercial insurance and personal insurance because a regular person driving their Hyundai Elantra, they can't afford $4,000 of commercial insurance for 6 months because you're not going to pay the premiums on that kind of insurance at 60 cents a mile. It's not going to happen. So that is where the problem is. See, the thing is this. The state of California, a number of you probably don't know this, but a couple of years ago, the California Public Utilities Commission ruled that Uber and Lyft, the rideshare companies, in order for them to operate their businesses in the state of California, they must have a TCP. They must have a TCP number. TCP means Transportation Charter Party. TCP, Transportation Charter Party. And soon enough, Uber and Lyft, they started issuing that TCP number so that we as Lyft and Uber drivers could see what their TCP number is, okay? That came from the California, the California Public Utilities Commission. That's what, Public Utilities Commission, CPUC, California Public Utilities Commission. The California Public Utilities Commission, they are the ones that regulate limousine, for hire, buses, taxis. They regulate, basically, if you pay someone to give you a ride, the CPUC, they are the ones that create the rules, the regulations, ultimately the laws that govern what they do and what they can do legally, okay? Now, in order to get a California Public Utilities Commission TCP number, you must have commercial insurance. And in that code, it specifies how much money your insurance policy has to be in order for you to be a commercial driver, i.e., in order for you to collect money from people, in order for you to be considered an independent contractor or considered a worker. Now, I go through all this to say this, and this is something you got to understand. And I find it amazing that they're trying to get around this blatant fact about the law, okay? As a rideshare driver, if you work under Uber and Lyft's TCP number, you are not independent. I'm gonna say that one more time so you understand where I'm coming from. If you work under Uber and Lyft's TCP number in the state of California, you are not independent, which means you are dependent, which means you are an employee, period, okay? The only people in the state of California, as we sit here right now, at 6:39 p.m. on Saturday, June 29, 2019, the only people that are truly independent contractors right now is if you're driving a vehicle that has its own independent TCP number on the bottom of it. There's a reason why when you have a TCP vehicle, you do not have to put Uber's and Lyft's trade dress on your vehicle at all. When I had my BMW, not one time did I ever have to put their information on it because I was independent. I rented the BMW from an independent business. My job to that business was to pay them their money on a weekly basis, period. They did not control me in any way whatsoever other than enforce me paying them their business, their car. Because I rented the vehicle from them, I was able to be an independent worker with picking up people and use Uber and Lyft to generate income. But get this, the money went to the limo company first, and then the limo company paid me when they got their money. I hope y'all trying to do, in my opinion, and based on what I'm seeing, and I have to say this right now. I am not an attorney. I'm not a lawyer. I'm just a broke rideshare driver trying to make a dollar like everybody else out there. But what Uber and Lyft is trying to do, in my opinion, is they're wasting time because it's already in the law. It's already been settled. And it was settled before this Dynamex case was settled. They're going to have to go through a whole lot of rules and laws in order to get themselves exempted from Assembly Bill AB. And as long as Ms. Gonzalez is in charge of this whole deal, it's not going to happen. I understand that my opinion might be different from the rideshare professors, but I'm telling you, I am reading this stuff and I am coming from it as a legal mind. The only way that Uber and Lyft will be able to get around this is the only way it will work is if they require each driver to have their own independent TCP numbers. In other words, this little thing here with Lyft and the airport sticker and all this stuff that's going on, so they're going to have to do something completely different, because even if they get it exempted, it's still not going to cover the rules that you have to follow from the California Public Utilities Commission. No, Uber's not going to end. Lyft's not going to end either. These are multi-billion-dollar companies. Even though they're losing money, they are multi-billion-dollar companies. They're not going to leave California. They're going to find a way to work around this or so. Now, the saving grace for Uber is they have Uber Black, Uber Lux, Uber SUV. They have those categories already established. But as far as like Uber Select, Uber XL, Uber X, those categories are going to have to fundamentally change. What's going to happen is the drivers will individually be required will individually have to have their own TCPs. If you work under Uber or Lyft's TCP number, you are an employee. Bottom line, you're an employee. Even if they get the exemption, because here's the deal. In order for us to be covered by this, based on the ABC test that they now gave us, you got to have commercial insurance. You got to have commercial insurance. Even, this rideshare coverage that we have, it actually does the job, because technically it is commercial insurance. Technically it is commercial insurance. But the way things are right now, once this thing passes the Senate and Governor Newsom signs it into law, this is a done deal. When will Uber Black SUV come to Birmingham, Alabama? I don't know, because I'm not in Birmingham, Alabama. I thought they already had it out there. If they don't have it, then they don't have it. But that's a totally different state. I live in California right now. I can't answer that. The situation really is, I don't understand how all these organizations don't see this, because, you know, Assembly Bill 5 is going to impact the taxi industry in a big way. See, the thing is, the taxi industry, they are regulated more so on the local level, like cities and counties. But independent drivers, like limousine companies and independent limo operators, they're managed at the state level. They created this hybrid with Rideshare, but see, here's the problem. It's now a total mess when it comes down to it. And they're trying to work out something, but the thing is, they're going to have to they're going to have to do a whole lot more than telling drivers in each city, okay, you're going to have to go to your local your local city hall and get a business license. It ain't that simple. And the reason why is because of because of commercial insurance when it comes down to it. So that's that right there. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens, but the way it's written right now, I'm gonna tell you, Ms. Gonzalez, she is 100% opposed to any leeway being given to rideshare companies when it comes to any type of exemption on the Dynamex case with Assembly Bill 5. She has her heels dug in on this one. She is not budging. If anyone will get an exemption to Assembly Bill 5, it'll be taxi cab companies, because taxi cab companies comply with the law and they will be directly impacted by this. Trucking companies will get an exemption with this. The law will be passed either by late August, early September. The Assembly already passed it by a large margin. The state, the Senate is supposed to be looking into it now, beginning in July. They're going to look at it and they're going to vote on it in August. What's going on is you have the local unions. The New York Times just published a great article about it, but there are other articles that I have found that do a better job of explaining this whole thing. But when you look at the history of all these different things, it's going to be different. You know, I'll tell you who really has to worry about their future in the state of California. Lyft has to worry about their future more than Uber does. And the reason why is because as the law stands right now, as AB 5 stands right now, the only categories that will survive this will be Uber Black, Uber SUV, and Uber Lux. And the reason why is because those categories are essentially already in compliance with what an independent contractor is. There are a few minor adjustments that Uber will have to make to the app in order for those companies to be done. But for the most part, taxis, no, I'm sorry, not taxis. Uber Black, Uber SUV, and Uber Lux, that will be the only thing that will operate once AB 5 becomes the law. Uber Select, Uber SUV, Uber Select, Uber XL, Uber Black, unless those vehicles have their own TCP on it, they're not going to pass muster. And I can tell you this: it's already bad enough the way Uber Black, the black fares are. Uber X and Uber X and Uber XL by themselves, you just don't make enough money to pay for the insurance requirement necessary for commercial insurance for those vehicles. You just don't make enough money on them. It will be fascinating what Uber's response be. Lyft, on the other hand, because they do not specifically require TCP, they could be they would Lyft would be materially damaged by this. They could say, look, all the people that have Suburbans and whatnot, and they're already on here, they could be affected. Yeah, you'll need a business license if you're carrying commercial insurance on your vehicle, and you have and you're incorporated. Because see, that's the thing with commercial insurance. Just to get a quote, you have to be incorporated, or you have to have an LLC. They don't deal with sole proprietors when it comes to dealing with when it comes to this. They only deal with people who are formally organized as an LLC or a corporation in the state of California. So yeah, this whole thing is going to be very interesting. Let me see. Will California drivers still have to get a business license? Yes and no. When you incorporate or you become an LLC, that is your business license. Your information is posted on a public directory, and people can see exactly what your status is when you plug in their name and all that. They see your name, your address, what the status of your corporate entity is. If you are transportation, they see that your insurance is current, all that stuff. And the state knows this immediately. Now, isn't getting an LLC expensive? Technically, getting an LLC is not expensive. What's expensive is if you need to get the various things necessary to do business. Like, for example, to get insurance for a transportation-based LLC or corporation, you're looking at a minimum premium of $4,000 every 6 months. It's a corporation. They want more money. They're expecting, okay, if you're in business transporting people, that carries a whole lot of liability. If you've seen some of these accidents that some of these guys have transporting people, it's a very, very big deal. Hey, Gio, what's going on, man? You're probably the only one I must pause for a second. Look, I was just making a quick video talking about the issues we're dealing with in California regarding Assembly Bill 5, because it's going to make a big difference. All right, so now I got a few questions I'm gonna answer, and then, like Gio says, I'm gonna go make my money and get from here. Is a tuxedo over the top for driving? In my opinion, I do think a tuxedo is over the top, but if that's what you need to be a professional driver, then I say go ahead. I mean, look, for 2 years I had a long sleeve shirt with a nice tie on, and I didn't think it was over the top. I treated it that way because I considered myself a professional. I'm in a nice expensive car. I need to at least act like I care about that fact. So let me see. That's the thing. So let's see. Okay, let me see. Corporations, corporation will force you to pay SSI taxes, LLC won't. I don't. That question I can't answer for you, because see, I had a single member corporation, and there was a lot of stuff I did not have to pay because I was there because I needed to legally form a business. And so, right now I'm totally flat broke. So, I have to start all over again with everything to get it work. But, the great thing is, in the state of California, when you have money, the state is very forgiving, and they let you start over all kinds of times. And so I'm like, hey, it's all right, but you never know. I'm going to do what I have to do. All right, so let's see. Hey, Gio, you are the man. Thank you so much, and congratulations on your Infiniti. You've worked very, very hard for that, and I'm for one very, very happy, very excited for you, and the revenue you're going to make from that vehicle will be absolutely beautiful. I mean, wow. Hey, awesome work, man. You not only do you deserve it, Broham, but you earned it, and that's the most important thing. You have earned it along the way, and it's a good fit for you, bro. It really is. Let me see. Now, getting an LLC is not all that expensive, but if you want it done right, there is a company here in California called, let me get it right, because I actually formed my company with them. The company is called Business Rocket, businessrocket.net. They have a package that will put everything together for you in one nice little package. They form your LLC, they do take care of your DMV pull notice, they help you with getting your Internal Revenue Service tax ID. That's it, businessrocket.net. They help you with every step of the way, getting your TCP permit properly filed. They even have an associate company that helps you with the commercial insurance. The only thing you have to do is get the vehicle, and getting the vehicle is probably the most difficult thing to do, especially if you're a new owner. But the thing is, once you have your own vehicle with the proper TCP permit, with the corporation properly set up, with the insurance properly set up, with your bank account set up, with your phone number set up, all that stuff done, it is worth it, because then what you can do is you can run your own ads. You can have your own clients. You take 100% of the money that you pull in. You know, someone gets in your car, you can charge them on the spot. You have an array of tax write-offs you can take advantage of. And you know, being your own TCP is truly being your own boss. And in today's digital world, it's really amazing. I didn't do well enough with it because I just simply didn't have enough money to do it. But I've learned so much in my failure, I'm not afraid to try it again. So for those that are serious about this, you know, it's okay. But yeah, TCP is the only way to go in rideshare, because here's the deal. If this whole house of cards falls apart and burns to the ground, the only people that will be left standing are the TCP holders and possibly the taxi cabs, because the taxi cabs have a lot of leverage. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And yes, there is huge demand for TCP, because with TCP you have a true independent contractor relationship with your clients, and you get all the money. There's no middle ground. What Uber was supposed to do, what Uber and Lyft were supposed to do, they were supposed to provide the software that connects independent drivers to clients. And they were supposed to be charged a flat commission for each ride that was given, and that's it. But when you start hearing reports where Uber is taking 50, 60, 70, 80% of the money from drivers doing fair work, and they're taking all the money because they basically, you know, told Skynet to send it to us, I'm like, okay, you know what? Nah, there's something not right about that. This whole thing is the roosters coming home to roost. That's what it's all about when it comes down to it. And you know, these companies, look, they thought they were going to get away with something. You know, even Wings, it's just because it's prearranged. But are you still, who's providing the insurance? If Wings works with TCP holders, then Wings is fine. But if Wings works with people that work under their TCP, that's the key. If you have to work under somebody else's TCP, you are an employee. Bottom line. If you have to work under somebody else's TCP, you are an employee. That's their TCP. You need to have your own TCP. That's what the determining factor is going to be, if you're working under their TCP or your own TCP. Because it's about these clauses that's going on. Look, let me break it down for you so you understand where I'm coming from. Is the worker free from control and direction under the contract? Okay? That's the first thing that they could argue and say, yeah, it's the case. But then here's the second part, and this is what's really killing the argument that any rideshare company has, and to an extent almost all of the gig workers. Does the company perform work outside the usual course of the hiring entity, or in this case we say the contracting entity? Well, we all know Uber's primary role, Lyft's primary role, um, is does the worker perform work outside the usual course of the. We all know that Uber and Lyft, what they do is they. I'm sorry, I got a text, I got a message I got to respond to. Does the worker perform work outside the usual course of the hiring entity? The primary purpose of Uber and Lyft is to provide transportation services, not to provide software. That's their main thing. When you have a situation where the company is taking 86% of the worker's money, come on, think about this is a common sense thing or so. Let me see. Is the worker customarily engaged in an independently established trade or business? Now, in this particular case, this is the most important part in Uber and Lyft and why you have to have your own TCP in order for this to work. Because see, here's the thing. What Uber and Lyft always tell us is we can't take cash fares. We cannot take cash fares. Why? Because you don't have your own TCP. You don't have your own LLC corporation. You don't have your own full commercial insurance. You don't have your own corporate bank account. You don't have the things necessary in place as a regular, standard, traditional rideshare driver. If you have a limo company, if you're Uber Black, Uber SUV, or Uber Lux, you are independent, which means you can have someone say, look, if you want to book a ride with me, like when I had my BMW, if somebody wanted to book a ride with me, they could say, okay, here's the deal. You give me a call or go to my website, book the ride. I will come to you. Hey Beacon, how you doing? I will book the ride and you will pay me directly for it. I don't need Uber's app to make money. Period. That's the whole thing. I am not dependent in any way whatsoever to make money legally from Uber or Lyft. That's why you don't have to put their trade dress on your vehicle when you have a TCP in the back, because you are 100% independent as far as I'm concerned about. Let me see. I got a message here. Please tell your viewers how much it will cost to get your TCP. In order to get the insurance, the quotes that I received, first of all, for me to even get a quote, I had to have a corporation or an LLC. If I told them, oh, I was a sole proprietor, oh, I was an Uber driver and I'm trying to, they would not give me, they ran my information. It's okay, your quote is approximately $4,000 for 6 months of coverage. To have proper commercial insurance in the state of California, if you passenger means you have a seatbelt, okay? You have to have a minimum of $750,000 liability coverage. If you have 8 or more seatbelts in your vehicle, you need to have a minimum of $1 million liability coverage. Liability is just if you hit somebody. That doesn't cover your car. It's not comp and collision. It's just for your liability. And then you have to spend more money to cover your vehicle, and if it goes down and all like that. Is Uber cutting in and out too? I don't understand what that question is, mister. You got to repeat that again. I'm sorry. Then you have to get the appropriate vehicle. You have to get a vehicle that people are willing to pay you money for. You have to get money that people are willing to pay you money for. And in the state of California, that means something that's over $50,000, $60,000 brand new. Yeah, say hello to others, but ignore me. Thank you. Now I really know the truth. Okay, I don't know who you are, Mike 2. I really don't know who you are. You're saying that you. Let me go back, cause I'm. Oh, there's the violent one. You know who you are. What are you talking about? purpose are you going to take up the Ride Professor offer he sent you for? Rob him, yes, I will. Because I need to. I have to. And how do you even know about that? You should know about that. But yes, I'm taking the Rideshare Professor. I've already sent him the information needed to process that the whole 9 yards. He's doing me a huge favor. Yes. Oh, and this is Christine. LOL. Mike 2. Mike 2, whoever you are, I don't know who, see, I got the first message from you, Mike. You say, hey, Paula, sent you text. If you care, what happened to your other channel? The reason why I didn't answer you, Mike, to be clear, because if you're the Mike who I think you are, the reason why is because right now I am specifically talking about Assembly Bill 5, so people understand what's going on with Assembly Bill 5. My other phone is currently turned off. It's a prepaid number, and the number expired yesterday. You can send me a text message on this phone because you have this number. But the thing is, because of what was going on with Paula, I decided to respect her because she's going through some things right now. She needs space. I give people their space. When I'm done with this live stream, I will give Paula a call and we will talk about it. Paula is still my friend. You are still my friend. You two are very wonderful, and you helped me out in a very big way. You really did. You did. But right now, I need to talk about Assembly Bill 5. That's where I am right now, trying to do because see, this is what happens with me in my live streams. I get distracted. And so I wanted to focus on this because this is an important topic that a lot of people have to understand. I'm not here to talk about Paula. I'm here to talk about Assembly Bill 5. That is the thing. If people want to understand what's going on with Paula, send Paula a message of support so she knows that you care about her and that she'll be okay and everything is going to be fine. Right now, Paula needs space. Reason why Paula needs space is because a lot of bullies have hurt Paula. Paula is a very sensitive person, and people need to respect that, and they need to care about that. We need to send Paula support and let Paula know that she's going to be okay. But right now, Paula needs time. Yes, Paula is alive, and Paula is going to be fine. Right now, Paula is dealing with a lot of physical pain, and she needs space. She needs time, and when she's ready, she will come back to the channel. I mean, you know, look, I was hurt on the channel. I needed time. In 2 different months, I needed a couple of months of time to recover from the emotional trauma that I basically went through, which was nothing compared to what Paula's going through right now. She's dealing with a lot. She has a lot on her plate. And so I'm respecting that. It's just that simple. Right now, I need to focus on talking about Assembly Bill 5. That's why I turned this channel and I did this. Now, I hope that helps you out. I hope that addresses the situation. I really do, because I genuinely care about it. But right now, I got to focus my time. So there we go. If everyone wants to send a message to Paula, go to her channel, send her an email so everyone knows that we care about her, that we are rooting for her, we are praying for her, and that she will get through what is arguably one of the most difficult challenges she's dealing with right now. She is in a lot of physical pain, and she really does need our support. We care about her. We love her. We really do. And Paula needs to know this. Okay. I hope that helps, Mike. I really do. Because you and Paula have been wonderful friends to me. You really have. All right. So, let's get back. Yeah, so here we go. Yes, there we go. Thank you, Kent. I appreciate it. I'm talking about Assembly Bill 5 because here's the deal. Bottom line, it's going to make an impact in the lives of millions of workers in the state of California. And I'm talking specifically about this will affect Uber and Lyft rideshare drivers. This will have a direct impact on me. There are people who will be excluded from rideshare because of the law when it's finally signed into law by the governor of California. Best believe this was going to happen, because look, if If Assemblymember Gonzalez has her way, Lyft and Uber can forget about it. All this discussion that they're doing right now, based on what I'm seeing right now, is a total waste of time. It really is, because the law is already settled as far as the Public Utilities Commission is concerned. The law is already settled as far as the various codes are concerned. That is what it is. No, sir, this is strictly for the state of California. It has nothing to do with Alabama. It has nothing to do with Arizona. Nothing to do with Nevada. Nothing to do with Oregon. Nothing to do with any other state but the state of California. Now, what we do in California can have an impact on other states depending on what it does to our economy and what it does with respect to worker rights. Okay, this is clearly a labor situation, and they're trying to rectify basically what has become an abusive mess over the years. The reason why it's just California is because there was a law, there was a court case that was recently decided. And what the state legislature is doing is they're trying to pass a bill to become a law to clarify and expand upon what the court decided regarding basically a basic tenet of labor in the state of California. This case is turning upside down 30 years of labor law. Every labor lawyer in this state and several labor lawyers in the country, they are talking about what this state's going to do, because it's going to have a profound effect on the state of labor in this state. And you are talking about hundreds of billions of dollars that's going to be affected over the span of just the next few years. This is a very, very big deal. And so I'm like, look, I'm trying to read this from the perspective so I understand what's going to happen. So when it happens, I won't be left, as they like to say, bent over a pole. Because I'm going to tell you something. When Governor Newsom signs this into law, and more than likely it's going to become effective January 1, 2020, it's going to be fascinating what's going to happen. But I do know this. This is what I absolutely positively believe. Uber and Lyft, they're not going to get an exemption of this one. They're not. And here's the reason why. Because the company has been abusive from the moment they established UberX and from the moment Lyft came into existence. See, here's the thing. They knew what the laws were. They knew exactly what they were, but they went around them anyway. Even the little thing, like, for example, violating the rules at the airport. Oh, they just ran over all those rules, and they decided, oh, we're going to do our own thing. And there have been people over the years who have paid the price to get Uber and Lyft where they are today. Even now, look at what Uber and Lyft is doing just in other states. While they're telling us that they're going to treat us special, they're going to treat workers in other states unfairly. Why is it that Uber and Lyft drivers in California will be considered employees, but they won't be considered the same way in Seattle? Or they won't be considered the same way in Florida? Why is it that Uber and Lyft had to fight so hard in New York? Why is it that the workers had to fight so hard in Austin, Texas? You know, the bottom line is, you know, what's controlling Uber and Lyft when it comes down to it is the law. Every state has their own laws regarding this subject, and so what they're going to do is they're gonna do what the law allows them to do. And right now there are too many holes and too many loopholes in the law. So you know what? I don't think Uber and Lyft will pull out of the state of California. I received a text message that basically told me as such. I would be shocked if Uber and Lyft actually pulled out of California. But you know what? I would be shocked, but I wouldn't be surprised, because They're shady like that. But the fact that they're at least trying to negotiate um, says something. Um, California is a big market, but you have to understand this about Uber and Lyft. Uber is diversified around the world. They are a worldwide company. Lyft, on the other hand, will be materially harmed by this. There's no question about it. This is a big enough deal that the CEOs of both of those companies came together and issued their joint letter. And when I saw that, basically that was tantamount to them begging. It really was. They were begging. And they're begging to the very people that will make a difference in this whole thing to begin with. That was one of the most incredible things I've seen when it came to business was those two. Yeah, it's a big market, but they aren't profitable. And it's like, okay, what can they actually get away with or so? Really, the only part of Uber that's truly compliant with the law is Uber Black and above. That's it. And even then, there's a few minor adjustments that has to be made, but that part of Uber can still exist. But Select, if you don't have a TCP, XL and Black, the way they XL and X, the way they are right now, without your own TCP, you can forget about it. See, the thing is, Uber X, Uber XL, Uber Select drivers that don't have a TCP, those drivers, they are dependent on Uber's TCP permit. Think about this, okay? They are dependent on Uber's TCP permit. And because of that fact alone, they are considered employees. An Uber Black driver, however, is not dependent on Uber's TCP permit. They are dependent on their own TCP permit. So as a result, those drivers are still okay, because if Uber and Lyft, let's say if Uber and Lyft go out of business, Uber Black, Uber SUV, Uber Lux drivers, they can still make money independently because they have their own independently established business. If you are an Uber X driver, you do not have your own independently established business. You can't go out there and all of a sudden legally get rides because you're an Uber X driver. No, because your rideshare insurance is not good enough anymore. You have to have full out commercial insurance. Your vehicle registration ain't good enough anymore. Now, technically, according to the California Public Utilities Commission, your vehicle does not have to have commercial registration to get commercial insurance. But, here's the but. The commercial insurance company, they require your vehicle to have commercial insurance. Remember, at the beginning of this live stream, I told you what's controlling this whole thing is the commercial insurance. That is what's making this whole thing a big deal. Dustin, what's up, man? How you doing? I am taking your advice and I am writing Assembly Bill 5 like a stripper. And I'm getting on this one, man, because this is very big news. It really is, and it's going to materially affect every driver in the state of California. Oh yes, okay, Lolita, I will do just that. Thank you for that heads up. I appreciate it. Oh my. Oh, we have a problem that I have completely ignored. Everyone, I am so sorry about this. I am, oh my goodness. Yeah, I think I took care of it. Nam Lee, you are still trying to get me to give away BMWs. I love you so much for that. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. This is the third stream today. No, I haven't streamed in a few days. Okay, let me see. What in the world is going on? Y'all are trying to keep me informed of something like. Okay, so here is the thing. I am going to start I'm going to start responding to some of your questions right now. Let me see. Let's see. Mike 2. Okay, he needs to be banned permanently from YouTube. Oh my. Sorry about that. Do you see Uber and Lyft leaving California? Well, I'll tell you this. Personally, I do see them leaving California. However, soon after I posted that video, I received a very cryptic message from someone who said that Uber and Lyft were not leaving, that Uber was not leaving California. And there was something about that video, I'm sorry, something about that message that led me to believe that that is the truth. They will not leave California. This is their headquarters. They are in one of the most prominent buildings in San Francisco. And for them to leave California would be a huge embarrassing blow. However, from a business perspective, just the expense of staying in California, I ultimately think as a business deal, as business, it would be fundamentally more expensive for them to do business in California. It would be fascinating to see what they do. You know, I personally believe when you look at what's cheaper. Is it cheaper for them to remain in California and pay the extra $500 million minimum they're going to have to pay to stay here? Or is it better for them to just simply say, hey, we work everywhere else but state of California, and companies that institute rules and states that institute rules similar to California? I'm like, if it's cheaper to do business somewhere else, they'll leave California. But let's face it, California is the most populous state in the country. They are the most influential state in the country as well, too. And there's a lot of money to be made here. Worst case scenario, they say, look, if you want to take Uber, the only thing available in California is Uber Black and above. That's it, because all the other ones, it won't work. And right now, the only vehicles they're allowing on Uber are Uber Lux vehicles. We'll see what happens at that point. So that's the it'll be very fascinating to see what happens. But the thing is this: the drivers in California, the rideshare drivers in California that do not have their own TCPs and their own commercial insurance and their own LLCs or corporations, you need to be prepared for the day Uber will turn off those accounts and say we due to California state law, this service is no longer available in the state of California. You got to be ready for that. You have to be prepared for it. Because that is a very real possibility that can happen. If you're a driver on Lyft, you have to be prepared for the app being turned off completely, unless you have, unless you already have on file with Lyft that, unless you have on file that you already have a TCP permit and you are authorized to use that TCP permitted vehicle with Lyft. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Uber does not want to have the drivers as employees. They don't want to do it. It's just that simple. Now, it's different than saying that they can't afford it. It's just they don't want to do it. And it comes down to it. Oh, brother. Let's see. Okay. You know what? Okay, here's what's going to happen. Mike 2, I'm about to block you. But before I block you, to prevent that from happening, I need you to tell me something, one word, that allows me to believe that you are who you say you are. I need to know that. Because this whole thing is causing a problem. No, TNC is what Uber is under, but if you look closely, TCP, Uber and Lyft have their own TCP. They also have their own TCP numbers as well too. That was a requirement by the state of California. And the thing is, if you have to work under a person's TCP, you are an employee. Now, here is an exception to that. Me, when I received my cars from partners, the Mercedes S-Class, when I first rented that, the first BMW 7 Series I rented, the Chevy Suburban that I rented, the 740, the 740i I had for 2 years, the next vehicle I have, because I'm making plans to go back to Uber Black. All of those vehicles, the only relationship I had with those limousine companies that had their own TCP, commercial insurance, and they were incorporated, my only responsibility to them was to rent the vehicle from them, period. That's all it had. My job was completely separate from theirs. If they had private clients to send me, then I could go and pick up those private clients. By renting their vehicles, that allowed me to use the TCP vehicle on the Uber and Lyft platform and generate income from them. It was a very easy, very simple and simple to work relationship that I appreciate very much, and I still take advantage of to this day. And the great thing is, Uber, in a way, is already prepared for that in case it goes to that point. Good to riders of California, cost of living in San Francisco is expensive, and they depend on ride sharing when it comes to cost and feasibility. But see, the problem with rideshare, unfortunately, is that cost and feasibility has come on the back of drivers who have lost their homes, have lost their apartments, can barely pay for their families, are working 12 to 14 hours a day, so that people who can clearly spend more money is getting the deal. I mean, it comes to a point. Look, it's okay for Uber and Lyft to run around and say we made all these billions of dollars and we're not publicly traded corporations. It's okay for all these people to invest in the stock and make hundreds of millions of dollars, in some cases a few $billion, and say, hey, we made all this money. And mind you, they already have money to invest in the company. And it's okay to treat the employees, great, and give them benefits and have Uber, what's that thing called? Uber Elevate, and talk about flying helicopters and all these wonderful things, and for Uber to spend all this money and acquire all these businesses or so like that. And then they turn around and say, oh, but the driver, you don't deserve even 60 cents a mile. No, we don't want to pay you health insurance. We don't want to pay you unemployment insurance. We don't want to pay you workers' compensation. We don't want to do any of that stuff. But what we want to do is we want to make sure that you can come to work and turn on the app and off when you want, because that's an important thing, because you like your freedom so much. But you don't want to do the right thing to take care of the employees, and as a result, you have people sleeping in their cars. I am one of them. I am. And that's the cost I pay because I want to be an independent contractor, because all the jobs I've had before, one way or another, I've managed to mess it up. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to roll with this independent contractor thing, and I'm just going to keep on rolling with it, because every time I've tried to be a great employee, busting my tail to make someone else's dream happen, at the end of the day, when I needed help, oh, we're sorry, we got to push you to the side because you're not valuable to us anymore. You're not important to us anymore. So yeah, I stuck with this because I'm like, hey, you know what? I had a shot at least trying to make something happen for myself by being an independent contractor. I go into a whole nother tangent about that again or so. But the reality is, when it comes down to it, all the drivers want is they want fairness. We are not trying to strike mega millions doing this thing. What we're trying to do is we're trying to give people a good ride at a fair price so we can appropriately take care of ourselves in the United States of America. That is not too much to ask for. And just like Assemblymember Gonzalez said, you have these companies making billions of dollars on the backs of people who are truly working hard trying to make this thing work. And now they have the audacity to come and say, oh, we'll leave you the same way like this if we can keep things the same way. No, because they have a track record of as soon as they get what they want, they will turn around and they will say, oh, well, you know, we have to reduce that. Look at what they just did just a few months ago. Oh, they went and took the rates from 80 cents a mile down to 64 cents a mile. They effectively gave you a $200 price cut, a pay cut for doing the exact same work. For every 1,000 miles you drive, you went from making $800 to $600. That's the whole thing. Update on Trip. Very simple. Trip is opening in Florida really soon. I think in just a couple of weeks or what have you, unless they've already opened. There's a video that's posted about that, and it's going to be a big thing. I need to. I'm gonna make a video about that later, but that's not the reason why I'm talking now. I'm talking about Assembly Bill 5. There are two ways that this Assembly Bill 5 can become law. First of all, the Assembly has to. No, the Assembly has already passed it. The Assembly is good to go with it. They like it. They passed it. Because in the state of California, now mind you, look. This is the state of California, okay? So people talking about the United States government or their own state governments, this does not affect you. This affects the state of California. California is controlled by Democrats. They have a super majority in the state of California, which means if the governor of California decides to veto it, they can still overturn it. However, precedent in California is that if the Assembly and the Senate and the Assembly, if they pass it, but the governor vetoes it, usually they won't override the veto. They'll let the veto stand. One thing about this one, this piece of legislation will have a defining effect on what Governor Newsom, what his term is going to be like, and if he'll get reelected. Bottom line, if Governor Newsom if he signs this, he will have the support of a whole lot of people in labor. He really will. If he vetoes it, he'll have a lot of support of business. Now, if the governor were Republican and you were looking for another Republican thing or so, and he vetoes this, oh, he'll get reelected. But as a Democrat, this will be very interesting to see what happens. But this is a big one. I'm curious what Governor Brown would have done with this if it got to him. I think it will pass too. I personally think it will pass. The Senate, there's already leaning saying that the Senate likes this bill. And Arnold Schwarzenegger is no longer governor. We've went through 2 governors since Schwarzenegger was the governor. And Governor Schwarzenegger was actually a halfway decent governor. I voted for him. Hey, I like his movies. So I voted for him, and it was pretty cool. But I tell you this, that bridge in San Francisco, it cost a whole lot of money a lot more money than it should have because of him. Because at first he didn't want the bridge to be built because he thought it was too expensive. And then when they told him that it was going to cost even more money to start all that work all over again, then all of a sudden they overturned it and decided to keep going with it or so, because that bridge had to be replaced. I mean, look, the old eastern span of the Oakland Bay Bridge, it was deficient. People died, and it just wasn't going to survive. It was a mess. I don't know where Gray Davis is. Gray Davis is a long time ago. He was a long time ago. Gray Davis is old news. We are now on Governor Gavin Newsom. He is our governor now. Governor Newsom, he was the former mayor of San Francisco, and now he is the governor. When he announced that he was running for governor, it was guaranteed he was going to be the next governor. No question about that. It will be, but this will be very interesting to see. Look, it has to pass. It already passed the Assembly. Now it has to pass the Senate. The Senate will probably put more exemptions and amendments and change some of the language to it and edit it, and then they'll vote on their version of it. And then once that's done, then it will be sent to the governor, and he will sign it. It's a very It's a very fast read. It's only about 5-6 minutes to read. But here's the thing. Once it passes, I believe it's going to pass. Once it passes, it can either become law immediately, it can become law within 30 to 60 days of passing, or it can become law effective January 1st, 2020. I think what will end up happening is because of the logistics of moving people from independent contractor to employee, they'll probably implement it as law effective January 1st to give people time. Because right now, we're talking about it right now. You have every employment lawyer in the state talking about this thing, because this is a major change to employment in California. And so companies will need time to adjust to this. He's not going to just say, hey, okay, now that this is done, you have to implement this and you have to do it immediately. No, that's not a smart thing to do, because if that happens, the governor will not get reelected. But if they give people adequate time to adjust to this, because it's the new law of the land. Well, it is the law of the land because it's the Supreme Court said so. But we need a framework to work with. And what they're doing, Assembly Bill 5 is essentially adding a new section to the labor code. That's essentially what's going on. Do you think some will be 1099 and some will be W-4? It depends on what the work is. Uber Black will continue to be 1099, because as the law stands right now, Uber Black, Uber SUV, Uber Lux drivers, with minor modification, they pass the ABC test. But select XL Lux drivers that do not have TCPs, no, they don't. If they have W-4 employees, that's a decision only Lyft and Uber will have to deal with, if they're going to have employees or not. They're adamant about not having drivers as employees. The big question now is, we see taxes taken out of every ride we do in Cali. That's currently being done right now. There's all kinds of taxes being taken out of every ride that's being done. If you go to employee status, you will be paid strictly by the hour. What you do mileage wise is irrelevant, because you don't qualify for independent contractor status anymore. So you have to you're going to be paid just basically Uber and Lyft. You'll be paid $15 an hour, and that's it. But for $15 an hour, they'll say, hey, you know what? What's the question you should really be asking is, will they only work with full-time drivers or part-time drivers? Because if you're a part-time employee, they do not have to pay you for health insurance. You don't have to get retirement benefits and various other things. This really is an issue of unemployment insurance. And to companies, unemployment insurance is another tax. That's what that's about. The Beacon of Light driver is not a troll. He is my man, a wonderful man. Ghost driver is a real thing out here. Wow. Please RDP unblock Beacon of Light driver. He appreciates rideshare drivers. Oh boy. Let's see. Beacon of Light driver is not a troll. He is my man. Let me see. Okay, will they pay for the car and pay for the gas and pay Social Security on you as well? If you are an employee and if you have to supply your own vehicle, Uber will have to reimburse you for all those expenses. They'll have to reimburse you for if you have a monthly payment on your car and you use a portion of it or you use all of it for rideshare, your insurance, maintenance, gasoline, car washes. But here's the deal. They can be even more strict on you. They can control everything you do when you are an employee. 1 30-minute lunch break, 2 15-minute breaks. And when you are an employee, they can micromanage you to the second with these apps. If they tell you, hey, you have to put a camera in your car so they can monitor you and they can see you while you're driving to make sure you're in compliance with with their rules to drive on the ride share, then they can tell you if you're an employee and they say, look, you have to wrap your car pink, and you have to put Lyft all up and down on the sides and up under it and on the wheels and everything. As an employee, they can tell you to do that. I mean, they have vast power when you're an employee, okay? Can you do business completely independent without or is that unprofitable? Yes, you can do a business completely independent without Uber and Lyft. It's called a limo company. You can do that. Yes, you can. And no, it's not unprofitable at all. You can set your own rate and you can charge whatever you want, and you can make it make it profitable. That is absolutely, if you have the money and you're willing to buy a vehicle. And then get this, you don't have to have a BMW or a Mercedes or a Lexus or a Sprinter or any other fancy car. You can put a TCP number on any vehicle that you think will make you money and that will pass a California, a state sponsored inspection. There are people out here right now with TCP numbers on Priuses. They have an independent business, and those people are smart because at least they're prepared for what's coming next. But you know, they put ads on Craigslist, and they have their own independent companies. Why? Because they don't work under a taxi cab and they don't work under rideshare. They have their own business, and they have the legal authority granted to them by the state through the California Public Utilities Commission to do their own thing. And that's it. The only people that are really going to win on this one when it comes down to it, as far as drivers are concerned, I don't know anybody else, is are drivers that hold TCPs. They're the ones that are going to win on this whole deal. Get a PC. Well, here's the deal. The problem with Yugos is they're not around anymore because the parts to keep those cars rolling don't exist anymore. Try to find a Yugo somewhere. No, and people aren't going to pay money to be in a Yugo. You know, give me a break. That's not realistic. The question is, are Uber and Lyft unlawful competition? The rules should be the same for all companies. There is a saying that I like in yours. It is one of my favorite sayings in movies of all time. One of the favorite sayings in all times. And people kind of overlook Star Wars Episode 1, what was that called? The Phantom Menace, I believe it was. And there was a scene where the ugly people with the big heads, they said, "My lord, is that legal?" And Palpatine comes in and he says, "Make it legal." And that is what Uber and Lyft did. They came in, they rolled over all the laws. And then what they did is they used money that the drivers went out there and worked for to pay to do the commissions, and in commission money, and they made rideshare legal until the laws finally caught up with them. See, this is where their schemes are coming back to bite them in the ass in a big way, in a really big way. So at the beginning, is it legal? Is it illegal? Here's the deal. Uber and Lyft, they were Emperor Palpatine in this deal. They made it legal. But the state of California came back and said, "Oh, not so fast." And the interesting thing was, the very entity that helped them make it legal is now making it illegal for them. The Public Utilities Commission in the state of California. I tell you, this is an amazing thing. It really, really is. This time around, no, they will not find a workaround in the law. And the reason why is because the state of California, the Supreme Court, did something that they were not prepared for, and that was they completely rewrote the rules regarding the distinction between independent contractor and employee. See, in the Assembly Bill 5 that they have, it specifically says that unless the hiring entity can prove that the worker passes all three ABC of the test, that person, that worker, is an employee, period. If you read the text, it is right there in black and white. And I can guarantee you this. The state legislature, they're not changing that. They're not going to change it. They made a few edits in it, but that whole section right there was left unaltered. You know, like remember that scene in Star Trek: The Next Generation where Worf they were talking about Captain Picard, and Captain Picard was taken by the Borg, and Captain Riker, they just said, "What happened to the captain?" And Captain Lieutenant Worf, he looked and he said, "The captain has been altered by the Borg." There's no alteration happening here, people. This isn't something that they can get away from, because remember I told you at the beginning of this, what is running the show on this whole thing is commercial insurance. That is what running it. If you have a real business in the state of California, you have commercial insurance. And the insurance companies have made it very clear that you cannot get a claim. If you have a problem with your vehicle, with an accident, with liability, you are not covered unless you have commercial insurance doing this thing. So that's what's ultimately running this whole thing. If you want a TCP permit, you must have commercial insurance. Not this rideshare hybrid thing that's going on, but you must have the real coverage. And the California Public Utilities Commission has made it very clear, in order for you to be properly covered, you must have a minimum of $750,000 if you're in a sedan like this, or if you have an SUV type vehicle, you must have $1 million liability insurance coverage. That is in the code. And what is the code? The code is the law. As simple as that. James River Insurance, they are commercial insurance, but guess what? James River Insurance covers Uber. James River Insurance covers Lyft. In order for you to be covered by James River Insurance, you have to be working on behalf of Uber and Lyft. And because you are utilizing insurance that is provided to Uber and Lyft through James River Insurance, that makes you an employee. People, this thing is already done. Look, they are spending millions of dollars for something that has already been done. All this stuff about needing a business license, no, it's not good enough. You need a TCP permit. You need a TCP permit. And a TCP permit in California, if you're going to do it right, that means you have to be incorporated, and you have to have it. It could be boo-boo insurance, okay? The fact is this. It don't matter who writes it, it has to be commercial insurance. And if you're working under their insurance, that means you're working under their control, which means you are not passing Part A. Is the worker free from control and direction under the contract? And in fact, if you have their insurance, you're under their control. It's simple as that. You know, it is simple as that. Look, I'm in this vehicle from Maven right now, okay? And Maven has given me commercial insurance in this vehicle to operate it as I use it, whether I do fair or not. I have a commercial insurance policy on this car because that is what General Motors wants me to have when I operate their vehicle however I see fit to use it. This is commercial coverage. I'm covered no matter what in this car. But the thing is this, what Uber and Lyft give me is they give me the interface, the software to connect me to customers that want rides. If Uber and Lyft want to get around this issue, they could simply say this: every vehicle that's on our platform must have a TCP permit, period. That's the easy way to fix this. That means now, unless you have your own TCP, you're going to have to rent a car from somebody that has a TCP. They could use it. If Lyft wants to, if GM wants to continue renting their cars to Uber and Lyft drivers in California, all they got to do is slap a TCP on the back of this car, and guess what? I'm in compliance with the law. I'm an independent contractor now. That's how that will work. Let me say that one more time so you can understand exactly what and why I told you at the beginning of this live stream. At the beginning of this live stream, what's going to ultimately control all of this is the commercial insurance. The insurance companies, this is so brilliant, it blows my mind. It really does, okay? Here's the thing. What if you're renting from Lyft Flex Drive? It's the same concept. If you have a full-out commercial insurance policy from Uber or Fare or Lyft, and they put commercial insurance on the vehicle, and they put a TCP number on the back of the car as well too, you are effectively an independent contractor at that point, because what you're doing is you are renting the car from Uber and Lyft, and then you're using Uber and Lyft's platform. You're using Uber and Lyft's platform to make money. But they're going to have to change a few things. For example, Uber Pool's got to go away. Uber Pool has got to go away. If you rent from Flex Drive, do they have to provide the TCP? The TCP number has to be printed it has to be posted on the back of the vehicle. If you look on the back of like a Suburban or any black car that rides around or so like that, you'll notice there's a number TCP, and there's a multi-digit number on the back. And what you do is you can go to the California Public Utilities Commission number, and you run that TCP number, and that TCP number will tell you the name of the company, their address, the principal of the company who runs it, and if they have commercial insurance active or not. That is public information. Okay. Now, that's what you're they will. That is the information that's publicly on there. Okay. Now, if I take a vehicle that has its own TCP number, and I say, hey, you know what? I want to provide all this information to Uber and Lyft so I can participate on their platform to generate money. Guess what? You are an independent contractor. When you have to work under somebody else's when you have to work under somebody else's TCP, you are their employee. You have to work under somebody else's employee. Good part of being an independent contractor is you can take your profit to yourself. Yes, you can. But here's the thing. As an independent contractor, Uber and Lyft, they can say, okay, if you want to work on our platform, then this is what we have to work with. Uber and Lyft, what they need to do is they need to fundamentally be able to they have to change how they do their business how the rates are done, because right now they control the rates. A key tenet of an independent contractor is I can charge my customers whatever I want, independent of what Uber and Lyft says. Okay, George, you asked the question, will we be able to take cash rides as an employee? No, because Uber and Lyft can specifically prohibit that. However, if your vehicle has a TCP number on the bottom of it, then you will be able to take cash rides because you are compliant. You are an independent contractor at that point. You are working under the TCP that's established for the other people. And then what you did was you went and you established a corporation, or you established an LLC, or you have to have a corporation, or you have to have a corporation or an LLC, because I don't think a business license will do it. And here's the other thing. If you have a corporation or an LLC, that automatically takes care of whatever business licensing you have. Anyway, if you have a TCP or whatnot, unless you're on lunch, you could take a cash ride. Only if you are an independent contractor with your own TCP, your own corporation or LLC, your own business, basically. And here, this is what they're saying in the rule here. Is the worker customarily engaged in an independently established trade or business? Do you have your own company, basically? When you have a TCP, when you have an LLC, when you have an EIN number, you have your own independently established business in the state of California. and I'm specifically saying California because right now Assembly Bill 5 only applies to California. Anyone who's in any other state, I'm sorry, I'm not going to research the laws on 50 states and territories in the United States. I'm speaking specifically about Assembly Bill 5 in the state of California because this affects me as a driver. But when you have your own TCP, you can take your own cash rides. Now, here's one key distinction between a limo company and a taxi cab. I cannot take street hails. The rides have to be prearranged. Now, whether it happens in an app, or it happens in text messaging, or it happens on the phone, with a limo company, the rides have to be prearranged. So that's the key distinction. And once you have a prearranged ride, then you can do your thing. Taxi cabs are regulated on the county level, the city, or on the city level, and that's why they can take street hails because of the way they are regulated. But limousines, they are regulated on the state level through the Public Utilities Commission. To get a TCP in California, you are going to spend either $1,000 or $1,500, depending on which level of service you want to guide. If you want to do statewide service, that's $1,500. If you only want to do local service, which is 250-mile radius of your address where your car is housed, then that permit is $1,000. Most limo companies do the $1,000 route because it's less money, and you don't really see too many limo companies traveling too much out of a 250-mile range. But if you want maximum flexibility and you want to run this the right way, you want to get an A permit, and the A permit is $1,500. If there's, like, for example, I can give rides left and right to Palm Springs, San Diego, Santa Barbara, but with a B permit, I can't go to San Francisco. If I wanted to drive someone from Los Angeles to San Francisco, if I wanted to drive someone from Los Angeles to New York, not to New York, to Nevada, I would have to have an A permit because of the 250. So that's the thing. Let me see. Let's see here. So that's what we have. Let me see. I wonder about cash tips as Uber employee or tip in general. That's a good question. If you can take cash tips as an employee, that would depend on if, as a policy, Uber said, hey, employees are not authorized to take tips. If Uber says as a policy that employees are not authorized to take tips, as an employee, they can ban tips. I know when I was a Metro bus operator, it was policy. We are not authorized to take tips. If someone wanted to give me $1 as a tip, I had to tell them specifically, no, I couldn't. No, you have to understand, as an employee, Uber and Lyft will have the right to control virtually every aspect of the service that's delivered because you are under their control. In exchange for you getting all these wonderful benefits and protections, they can control every aspect of the service. Not as an independent contractor, but as an employee, yes. And the software can be in the contract. The software can be in place to say, hey, this person, because if you've ever looked on your LAX permit, it says, it gives you the driver ID. It doesn't matter how many times my car has changed. It doesn't matter how many times I've changed my phone number, my email address. The one thing that is consistent on every single one of these placards, because you know me, I'm going through a car a week at this point, has been my employee number on the very bottom. My TNC driver ID. I have a driver ID for Lyft and I have a driver ID for Uber. And they know exactly who I am. That's how they're able to track us and give us unique numbers for these trips and all like that. And they can look and they can say, look, as an employee, you are not authorized to you're not authorized to take tips, and they can block that feature from you as an employee. As an independent contractor, it's highly unlikely they'll take that feature away. So that's that. Is it worth it to get a TCP? Less drivers, more money. In my opinion, if you have a sound business plan and you know how to run your business the right way and do it, it is worth it to get a TCP, because the thing is this: there is now software available for you where you can run your service just like basically you're in effect you're a private transportation carrier. That's what you are. You're not dependent on. Here's an easy way to understand the difference between an employee and an independent contractor. If you are dependent in any way on any organization or company to make $1, you are an employee. Bottom line, you are, unless it's exempted by law. See, the thing is this: when you are an independent employee, it means an independent contractor. It means exactly that. Think of the relationship between a baby while the child is still inside the mother with the umbilical cord, and then think about it when the baby is born. Now the baby is a completely independent, human being, all on its own. It can eat, drink, poop, and cry all 100% on its own. But while it's developing inside the mother, it is 100% dependent on that mother because it has that umbilical cord, okay? When you are an independent contractor, what you're doing is you are agreeing to use your vehicle that you have on your own independently established company. You're agreeing to use your vehicle on Uber's platform to generate money. And you're saying, hey, you know what? I agree that Uber can take 25% of whatever I generate on this platform because I'm working with Uber to make this money. But here's the thing. Let's say I decide to not do business with Uber anymore. I decide to go to a company. I say, look, I want to rent your car from you for X number of dollars, and I want to get private customers. Okay, fine, you can do that. And then what happens is I put ads in the newspaper and I put ads on the internet. I buy a billboard and bus bench ads, and I advertise my company, and I can get business all on my own. Uber and Lyft can evaporate like the people did in Avengers. Just go away. Guess what? I'm still there. I'm still making money. Does a TCP, I believe, has to be expired every year, but I'm still researching that. But TCPs can expire because you have to understand, permits equals taxes, and the government wants money from you. It's not in California, it ain't a one-time thing. You spending money on it. Like every year, if you want your company to be alive, you have to pay a franchise tax fee every single year. Just to keep your company alive, you have to spend $800. Whether you make $1 or you make $10 million or $10 billion, you got to spend $800 to keep that company alive. If Uber lets drivers set their rates, can they be independent contractor? If Uber lets drivers set their own rates, they are independent contractors. Because here's the thing: when this new law goes into effect, the one thing that they'll have to deal with is rates. How will they manage the rates? Will they be able to get around that fact? Because again, remember the law, and it's very important that you understand the law. The law clearly says, is the worker customarily engaged as an independently established trade or business? Every independently established trade or business, they set their own rates for their own business. If you don't want to do this, by the way, how Uber says to do the rates or so like that, fine, go do your own thing. It's like that. I honestly, even if Uber managed to create a third worker classification, and I haven't heard anyone say anything about that. the problem ultimately comes down to rates, because so many drivers are so upset with the rates falling and falling and falling. And those rates are actually falling in favor of Uber. They're not falling in favor of the drivers. We're the ones that got to go out there and take the drivers and do the work. See, Uber looks at their productivity based on their driver utilization. The more people utilizing the service, the more profitable, the more useful they feel the service is. But that comes at the expense of drivers losing money for every trip and every mile they put on their vehicles, because the driver has to deal with all of the expenses here. So that's the big thing. This is a very fascinating situation. See, taxi cab drivers, I think what will happen is this: taxi companies will end up getting the exemption in Assembly Bill 5. And the reason why they will get the exemption in Assembly Bill 5 is because they follow the law. They are regulated on the county, on the county and state, the city and county level. Because they are regulated and their rates are set by the areas they work in, and they make enough money, they will be exempt, and they will. Thanks, President. Are people still there? I still have 7 people. Hey y'all, how you doing? Sorry about that. Let's see. If anyone is there, say I'm here, so I know that you're there, because I have a question to ask. Oh boy, still got 7 people online. This is fascinating. I don't think I have 7 people. Oh. Okay. I think I'm back. Okay, of those of you that are here, um, you've been here the whole time. Um, did you hear the phone conversation that I had? Anyone hear the phone conversation? Sorry about that. I just need to know if you heard the phone conversation. I don't think you did because I have this phone with Sprint, and the way Sprint works, if a phone call comes in, the internet does not work. Yeah, yeah, right, Modern Tips. No, my boss did not let me have a break. What happened was I received a phone call from Kevin the entrepreneur, and it was fairly important. So yeah, when the phone was on the ground, that was me in the bathroom. I had just finished up, and I washed my hands and came back to it. So, because I had to go really bad when Kevin was on the phone. So okay, so I've got 9 people here. Well, look, since I've got you here, what do y'all want to talk about? I am at your service. Anything you want to talk about, within reason, of course. Let's see. Okay, it went back to life. Okay. So one thing. Okay. Let me see. Ooh, these comments are something else. All right. No, what happened was I ended up getting a phone call. I had a I had a I had a phone call, and I have Sprint, and when you have a phone call with Sprint, the internet connection goes away, and the data connection goes away, and the cell phone does its thing. I can't do a phone call and live stream at the same time. I think you can do that with Verizon and with AT&T and with T-Mobile, and even with Metro PCS, but not with Sprint. Anyway, that's the thing there. Let's see. Address your title. You are employees. So pooping with Kevin. Yeah, right. I came, the phone was on the ground, just got here, Bob S. Okay. All right, everybody. So I got 11 people here. Y'all gotta want to talk about something. Did you unblock the beacon of light stay lit drivers? You know, I don't know how to do that. Let me see. Share, cancel. No, I don't know how to. Let me see. Top chat, hide all messages. All chats are visible. Top chat, some potential spam. May not be visible. Let me see. Hide all, super chat. All messages are visible. Okay. Let me see. Do you still be hanging out in Beverly Hills? No, I don't. As an Uber X driver, I really don't get a lot of rides in Beverly Hills. Ride requests there, and generally, Beverly Hills customers are pretty are disrespectful to Uber X drivers. I don't like working in Beverly Hills as Uber X. I'll do it as Select and Black, and SUV and Lux, because you know they'll spend the money. But for the most part, I tend to avoid Beverly Hills altogether. I don't. Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, Venice, some areas of downtown LA, those areas I do not like working. I don't like working major events anymore. I used to love working Dodger Stadium. I won't do Dodger Stadium anymore. I don't work Staples Center. I don't work the Coliseum or the Bank of California Stadium. I don't work those areas because their organization of pickups and drop-offs is really just piss poor. I don't like doing the Rose Bowl. Hidden Hills is all the way out on the western side of the county, and I don't know enough about Hidden Hills to find out where to really get the rides. I do work in West Hollywood. I get good trips in West Hollywood. I do fairly well in West Hollywood. Okay, let's talk about places I do like. I like West Hollywood. I like Manhattan Beach, Hermosa Beach, Redondo Beach, Rancho Palos Verdes, Rolling Hills Estates. I like Orange County, primarily South Orange County. Basically, where Irvine Spectrum and south of that, I like that. I prefer John Wayne Airport over LAX. I'll do drop-offs at LAX. I don't like doing pickups at LAX. The queue is always full at LAX. I'll be at Orange County and I'll wait there. I get good trips there. But I tend not to wait at airports anymore. I have limited experience at Be Ready G. All right, what's up? How you doing, Be Ready G? I have limited experience at Long Beach, but Long Beach has for the most part been pretty good to me. Let me see. I love Santa Barbara, love working out there. I don't intend on working Palm Springs anymore. Palm Springs was not good to me, even though you can make great money out there. It just out there unless you live there. Let me see. I like San Diego. I would like to do more work in San Diego. Carlsbad, La Jolla. But you know, in general, this is what I found. In order to be successful with rideshare, you need to look for places that have valet service and apartment buildings with lots of people, like 100-unit apartment buildings, and hotels and restaurants. If you work in an area like that, if you're unfamiliar and you want rides, remember valet service, hotels, restaurants, shopping centers, large apartment complexes, places like that, you're going to get rides. If you stick around primarily residential areas, in my opinion, you're wasting your time, because a lot of residential, some people, they still have their own cars and they prefer using their own cars. But apartment complexes, yeah, you can do rides at apartment complexes, because some people, they don't have access to cars, or they don't want cars anymore. You have a lot of people who are moving here from other cities, and they have found it easier to just do rideshare than to be on public transportation, or to have their own vehicles. They do rideshare instead until they decide to get their own cars. Because it's cheaper, it's easier, it's faster, and it gives you almost all the basics. What happened was I had a phone call from Kevin the entrepreneur, and that call lasted for about an hour. So after I was done with the call, I thought the stream had automatically disconnected, but it didn't. It was still on. And so I said, you know what, let me talk a little bit. I have not spoken with him. He only comes online with the live stream. I don't have his direct phone number to call him. He has made it very clear that he does not plan on meeting me in person, but he will send me messages, every once in a while. So, that's that. He and I have a fascinating interaction with each other, and I actually have a lot of respect for him. I don't know who he is, but I do have a lot of respect for him, because at least his criticism of me is constructive. He's given me some halfway decent advice. I wish I could recall what some of the advice is, but I think LV, what he sees is he really wants me to be more productive, and I think, he says, look, this is somebody who actually cares about being a halfway decent driver in the upper levels, and so we're gonna do that. The suicide video, actually, I already made that video, but the problem was, while I was making the video, it was interrupted, and my stream of consciousness was interrupted when it was, because I had a phone call. And when I tried to get back, I realized that's the kind of video that you have to make at one continuous time, without interruption. And the second thing about the video on suicide is I'm actually thinking about publishing it on a different channel. And the reason why is because even though I said I would publish the video here, it is not relevant to rideshare. It is relevant in general. I could make it specific to rideshare drivers who may feel discouraged or may want to give up hope. But because of the very personal nature of suicide, and the fact that I think it will help a lot of people, what I will do is when that video is posted, I will redirect people to the other channel that I have and say, look, if you want to watch the video on that channel, watch it there. I could put it here, but I don't want a channel. I don't want. It's about relevance when it comes down to it, and it's a totally different subject than rideshare altogether. And it's a video that I'm doing specifically for my subscribers and people that have asked for it. So those that specifically ask for the video, they'll go and they'll watch it on that channel, because that's the channel where I will speak about more things that are more personal of nature. The thing about me and YouTube, is this has been a surprise accomplishment for me, and I'm starting to make the decision to actually invest more into YouTube. You know, like for example, this channel has been relatively simple for me to make. I can just put a phone mount on my put a phone mount on my windshield and just start running my mouth and talk about rideshare, and it's been very effective. The other channel will basically be the same way. It's just my first name, Ulancy. That's all it is. And in that channel, I'll talk about anything and everything on that channel. The review channel, however, because you know I've been talking about reviewing cars for at least a couple of years now, and that is something that I am particularly passionate about. I'm actually halfway decent about it, but the one thing is that is the channel that will put me in a whole new category of viewership, and for that one, it has to be right. And I want it right from the jump. And the reason why is because I've now been doing this channel for about a year and a half. And at this point, I should understand what it takes to make a good channel and not. Because bottom line, the car review channel is the one that's going to put real money in my pocket. I'm going to do rideshare because this is a labor of love, and because I'm not going to abandon the people who got me to this point right now, which are the people that are currently subscribed to this channel. I will continue doing this because rideshare and transportation will always be a part of my life. But I want to grow, and YouTube has been good to me. I'll tell you. People might not think that, oh, you know, you're only making $150 a month, $200 a month. But there was one month where I made $786 in 1 month on this channel. And that blew my mind. I saw the potential that could be produced from this channel. And I'm like, you know what? I might be onto something here. But rather than piggyback off of the existing subscriber base I have here, I'm like, you know what? I want to start that channel from the very beginning with 1 subscriber and grow from there. But I want to do it right out the gate. And so, you know, what's really holding me back now at this point is I need a really good name for the channel. I've had a few that came my way, but they just didn't pop right. And when I have the name that pops right, like Ride with Peterson pops really good, but it's for rideshare. if I do the on the road channel, it will continue on this Ride with Peterson, and the reason why is because the channel will be relevant to what I'm doing. You are taking a ride with me. You're enjoying the trip, and you'll see my journey as I go from rideshare driving to on the road trucking. But that all depends on what happens between now and January 1st, because if this thing with Trip takes off well, if something else happens that's different, if I don't have to go on the OTR, then I won't go on the OTR. But I will tell you this: I am still doing the steps necessary to go through to become an OTR driver, on the road driver. Doing my medical tests, doing what else am I doing? Going to the gym, working out, doing my what else am I gonna do? What else am I gonna do? Make sure that everything is good to go. Get my Class A driving permit. That's the key. Update my driver's license, but get my Class A driving permit. Those things I'm going to accomplish no matter what. And then if I decide to go and do Swift, then yeah, I'll go do Swift. I basically already made up my mind. I'm going to go through that. Reviews with Peterson is too vague and too wide-ranging, because at that point you could really be reviewing just about anything. And I want to have something that's very specific. When you see the title, you know exactly what you're getting. I thought about just working with just my name, and I do have my name, but the problem is most people spell my name the wrong way, and so it will cause discoverability problems with my name if I just simply tell people what the name is. Garage Guru, the reason why I won't choose Garage Guru is because with that channel, it implies that I'm a mechanic, and I'm not a mechanic. I'm just an opinion guy talking, giving my idea about cars. So I'm not trying to repair them or whatnot. You have a lot of people who do have fantastic garage channels to talk about the cars and fixing their cars and everything like that. And I think it's pretty cool. Let me see. Ride reviews it doesn't pop right for me. It doesn't. No, I'm not feeling that. So I mean, but I tell you, when I get it, it's gonna happen. And then the other thing is this: it needs to be a channel name where I can basically put it easily on all of social media. Very simple. In other words, I have the domain name, the YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter and everything. See, it has to fit within Twitter, so it has to be 15 characters or less. I do have a channel name that I think will work really good, and it's been playing over and over and over in my head again, but something about it is like, nah, you can still do better than that. I actually like Ulancy on the Lot. I think that's pretty cool. And no, you got the name spelling correct. The issue with Ulancy on the Lot is what is it? What is it? I don't know. I think it could work, but it's going to be a review channel, so I can tell you for a fact the word reviews will be in the title. There's no question about it, because I'm reviewing the vehicle. But I'm thinking of that right channel, and I tell you, when the title pops, then the motivation level to get the videos out there will be incredibly high. Like when I first came up with Ride with Peterson, when that title, when it came to me and I thought about it, Pimps and Hoes and Low Riders with Peterson. That one's funny. That would be fascinating if I had what's his name? I met him. He's a football player. He's in the Hall of Fame. What's his name? Oh man. If I was like Ray Lewis. That would be perfect. Oh, that brother's a piece of work. I tell you that. He's worked very hard for what he has, though. Um, let's see. Yeah, there is a name that I think would work, and it's actually I think it will work effectively because it is how I will be reviewing the vehicles. So I just don't want it to be a weak sounding deal, and I think I have to sell myself a bit more on the on the name of the title, and I'll probably end up going with that title, and I think y'all will like it very much. Um, so, hey James, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. I'm really trying here. I could make these videos a lot better. I know I can, but that would require a little bit more work and a few more tools than what I have. And that's what I'm trying to work towards with the car review channel, because the competition is big out there. But I think people like the videos because they're fairly informative. So I don't want to use Pete. One channel I did, but let me see. Um, where is it? I think I actually bought that domain name. Let me see. I think I bought that domain name. But the problem is when I tried to do the YouTube name, somebody already has Pete the Car Guy. So I think that's what stopped me. I'm looking it up right now to see if I own it, because I think I own that domain name. Oh, wait a second. According to this, PeteTheCarGuy.com is available. Um, um, ooh. Oh, man. All right, people, this is what's gonna happen. I'm signing into my GoDaddy account right now. Okay, I need to get a 6-digit Google verification code. Give me like 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Everybody, I'm back. Okay, so here's the deal. There's a website. Like, one thing I do is when I come up with a really good domain name, I buy it because I don't want to lose it. And I think I got one. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to PeteTheCarGuy.com. I gotta have it. I'm like, let me see, where is it at? Here we go. My products, home. Let me make sure I read this properly because I'd have messed up one time. Oh yes, it is available. Okay. I can't believe this. Make sure I read it properly. Okay. All right. So if everything goes according to plan, I will own PeteTheCarGuy.com. Let me see. But that isn't what I really want to do. But oh my lord, what are they adding on my thing here for? I want to do this for 1 year. I tell you, GoDaddy has a way of really trying to get you with these domain name services. All right, so .com, domain name privacy, and I got 1 year free through July 28th, and 2680 is the card, and thank you for your order. I am now the happy owner of PeteTheCarGuy.com. Last time I checked that domain name out, it was not available, but I own it now. However, that may or may not become the new name of my car review channel. We'll see. But yeah, hey, that was a domain name. I could, even if I never use it, I'm possessive like that. So I had $23. So I'm like, you know what? Let me own that bad boy now. So yay, I own PeteTheCarGuy.com. I think I could work with that. But that isn't the name I really wanted to go by. I wanted to do something else. And I'm afraid of putting it in here because if I do that, then it kind of alerts GoDaddy to it, and you know how they get. They start buying up names, and you can't use it. So I'm going to hold up on using them. But what was the name I wanted to do? What was the name I wanted to do? No, Tire Kicker won't work. And someone else probably already has that. Let me see. I'm gonna do something here. Let's see what YouTube says. Oh, I'm actually looking at myself on the. This is funny. Let me see. I don't think anyone has that that channel. And if no one has that channel, I'm probably just gonna go with that. Pete the Car Guy. That will actually solve a huge problem. Because you know, Pete the Car Guy rolls off your channel it rolls off your channel. It rolls off of your tongue pretty good. And it actually is accurate in describing who I am. So let me see. So far, let me see. Let me do this. Let me go and see if I can. Okay, let's see. Sign in. Oh, wait a second. Let me do this. Work with me, people here. Oh no, that's too hard to do. You know, the funny thing about Pete the Car Guy is it actually works. I like it, and it's general enough. if I already own this name, I will really kick myself. Um, let me see. Have I ever owned a phone number with 69? Oh man, because I'm trying to do the Google. I gotta give me a couple of seconds here. Hold on for a second, okay? Hang on. Got you. Okay. Um, no, somebody else has that name because I don't have it on Google. Let me see. I don't have it. Let's see. Can't remember that. So let's do this. No, someone else owns the email address. Okay, so nope, I don't. I don't own it. Okay, but you know what? I own the domain name. I wanted the email address, the channel name to work with let's talk about something else because I'm perplexed on it. I bought a domain name. But there was another name I had that I wanted to set up for this whole thing, and what was the name? What was the domain name going to be? Nope, not Carlock Pete. Not going to work. I was going to do something else. You know what I can do? Because I had this thing about saying I wanted the domain name to be the same as the Gmail account. So if you emailed me, I could say my email address was petethecarguy@gmail.com. Petethecarguy@gmail.com. But someone else already has that specific Gmail account, so I can't use it. I would have to use a different email address, but the channel name itself, I can claim that because no one is using that specific channel name. But right now I own the domain name. That's the most important thing. I could sell it to somebody, but I own it. It's a good name. It works. And it would be accurate for me, and it would greatly expand my audience that I have. But the title, the name of the title, the name of the channel that I wanted to use was totally different, and I have to keep reminding myself of what it is. And it actually is even more descriptive, but it's actually vague at the same time, and it has the word reviews in it. So if I wanted to do reviews on other stuff, I could, but my specialty is reviewing vehicles. So we'll see. I'll sit on this one for a little while. Still have time to work with it. I'm coming with the namer. Okay, everybody, look, let's talk about other stuff. You should try bottom feeder. Bottom feeder is driving. Let me see. Employees or contractors? Okay, Pete the car guy. Jason Hayes, thank you so much. Whip Talk. Tire Kicker. Oh yeah. If you buy that, it had to be your. If you buy that, it had to be your channel name. Here, Grubhub bought all domains without. Here, Grubhub bought all thoughts domains without restaurant knowledge or something. Car specs by Peterson. Are we employees or not? That's the question, Peterson. And do you have a question for it? Bottom feeder is driving. As it stands right now, yes, we are employees, and it's going to take a lot more than Uber and Lyft telling us we need um, we need permits in order to change that fact. It's already in the law. It's already settled. And the thing is, because of the California Supreme Court, and what's already involved with the Public Utilities Commission, and what commercial insurance does to give us insurance coverage in case we are totaled out in a collision, and it comes to paying claims and everything. At the end of the day, this whole deal, believe it or not, this whole thing is controlled by the insurance companies. In a really weird kind of way, it is controlled by the insurance companies. And in order for us to be true independent contractors in the state of California, you need to have a TCP permit. This whole thing is regulated, is codified by the public utilities, the public utilities code. One of the most basic things I learned today, believe it or not, is you have the state of California, and you have what's called the California codes. Okay, and you go to Wikipedia, it says here, the California codes are 29 legal codes enacted by the California state legislature, which together form the general statutory law of California. Okay. The official codes are maintained by the California Office of Legislative Counsel for the legislature. The Legislative Council also publishes the official text of the codes publicly at legislature.legislature.ca.gov. Okay, so basically they abbreviated legislative info to LEGINFO. Okay, leg info is what it is. And then it says the codes currently in effect. The 29 California codes currently in effect are as follows. Now here's the deal. The code is the law. Remember when one of the things I do whenever I have a minor comes to this vehicle and they want a ride request, they get in the car and I say, "Are you 18 years or older?" And they'll say whatever they're going to say. If they say that they're 18 or over, then I say, "I need you to prove that you're 18 or older." And if they say I don't have an ID card, and I say, "I'm sorry, but it is illegal for me to transport you as a rideshare driver," because it is. Because this service is regulated by the California Public Utilities Commission. And if you look at the codes, right down here, when you go down, it says the Public Utilities Code. The code is the law, period. You don't want to violate the code because you don't want to violate the law, because code means law, okay? I had this coworker when I worked at LAPD, and he was a very difficult person to get along with. Most of the other employees just did not like him. But for some reason, he and I got along well. And the reason why he got along with me was because I respected the LAPD manual. See, he was the kind of person, he was very, very, very strict when it came to obeying the LAPD manual, because he made it very clear to every person who came towards him. He says if he is going to perform his work, I'm waiting for my friend. He needs me to give him a ride at 10 o'clock, and I've been running my mouth here, and it was just easier for me to sit here and do a live stream and wait for him than for me to drive and then try to get back here and be on time. So he's going to be ready in about 20 minutes, and I'm going to give him his ride. But look, he says, "Look, you live and die by this manual. If you obey the police, if you obey the manual, you have nothing to worry about. But if you take corners, and if you disobey the manual, you will lose your job. It's just that simple. The manual is what will save you because you followed the rules. You followed what the manual told you to do. These 29 codes that we have to follow in the state of California, these codes are the law. And at the end of the day, who am I going to protect? Am I going to, am I going to violate the code and give a minor a cheap ride that I'm already not being paid enough for? Or am I going to follow the law and say, hey, I'm not fingerprinted. As a result, I'm not fingerprinted as a rideshare driver working for Uber and Lyft. Uber will throw me under the bus just as quickly as the state of California will throw me under the bus because the law says that I am not to pick up underage drivers in this vehicle because it is illegal for me to do so. I am not authorized to pick up drivers, underage minors in this vehicle. The reason why Uber and Lyft do not want us to be fingerprinted is because they do not want to be regulated like taxi cabs. But yet they still permit underage people to use their app. We are put in a negative position. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to follow the code. I'm going to follow the law. So what I do is when they get in the car and I say, hey, are you 18 or older? They'll say, yeah, I'm 18. Okay, great. I need you to supply me with your ID card so I can prove that. Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have my ID card. Well, unfortunately, if you're not able to provide me proof that you're 18 years old, I cannot supply this ride to you. It's illegal for me to do so. Because if I get pulled over by a police officer and they ask me the same question and you're not able to prove to them you're 18 or over, then technically I'm driving a minor, which is in violation of the law. I could lose everything. If something happens in this vehicle, I have a problem, and I don't want problems. A person who appears to be under the age of 21, you need to ask them for their identification because you are protecting yourself. They want a cheap ride. You can lose everything because you're in violation of the law. Well, that's what governs all of this stuff that we do are the laws. And when you read the Public Utilities Code, the Public Utilities Commission, they are the ones who regulate rideshare. And in their laws, in their code, it specifically says that if I want to be a true independent contractor, meaning I don't need Uber and Lyft to make a dime. If I want to be a true independent contractor, I need to have my own TCP permit. That's just it. So yes, and you have that right to ID everyone that if you want to ID every single person that gets in your car, you have the right to do that. So that's how it is. So, and you understand Rick Rules is the same thing. Bottom feeder is driving. I do not support the petition in one way or not. I've already said in multiple videos, don't sign the petition because the company will use the petition against you. The petition is there for their benefit, not for yours. What Uber and Lyft want to do is Uber and Lyft, they want to deny employee protections to their drivers because it's cheaper for them to have us as independent contractors than it is to have us as independent contractors. They do not want to pay for health insurance. They do not want to pay overtime. They do not want to pay workers' compensation. They do not want to supply basic protections to allow drivers to form unions. I personally like being an independent contractor, and I'm going to take the steps to be an independent contractor. But some people want the benefits and the legal protections that come along with employee status, and Uber doesn't want to do that. If you sign the contract and you believe that you're going to be an employee because you signed the contract, you're in for a big mistake. The reason why Uber and Lyft want to use the drivers to sign the contract is because they believe and they know there is power in numbers. When they say they have 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 drivers who have signed the contract, what those drivers are basically saying is they want everything to stay exactly the way it is right now. They don't want any changes. And you know what? It's okay. There are drivers who are exactly like that. They want everything to stay precisely and exactly the same way. But the problem is this. you are an employee right now. If you are working under Uber or Lyft's TCP, if you are working under their insurance policy, because of a rideshare rider on your personal insurance coverage, it's not good enough according to the Public Utilities Commission, even though it's there. The fact of the matter is this: you are not an independent contractor as it stands right now under the ABC test. Now, if they were still using the old Borello test, then because of technicalities, you are an independent contractor. But when the California Supreme Court ruled that the standard for an independent contractor is that the hiring entity must prove that all three elements of the ABC test are passed in order for the worker to be considered an independent contractor. When the rideshare companies fail B and C, you are an employee, bottom line. And what Uber and Lyft is trying to do is they're trying to get their organizations to be placed on the exemption list. But the problem is, even if they are on the exemption list, it's not going to fly with the California Utilities Commission, because it's in direct violation of what's going on with them. It's not going to work. It won't work because of existing law already in place. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. Is Uber and Lyft going to leave California? Will this have a major impact? When will the new law take effect? I don't know if Uber and Lyft are going to leave California, but my thing is this: I made a video saying that they will leave California because, bottom line, it might be cheaper for them to leave California than to stay here. If they are a typical business, that's what they will do. They will look at, okay, how much will it cost for us to stay here versus how much will it cost for us to leave here? If it costs us less money to maintain business in California and have the people as employees, then they're going to stay in California. But if it costs them less money to leave California and the company will still survive and do well, and they're out of California, then the smart money would say they're going to leave. If they stay in California and it costs them more money to stay here than it would for leaving, then they're staying here for ego purposes. They're staying here because they wanted to look good, because they can still keep their headquarters in San Francisco and everyone doesn't have to move or so. But no, because the shareholders are going to tell them, look, if it's cheaper to leave California, leave California. Save your money, because what's going to affect them now is the cost of their shares. The moment the governor signs AB5 into law, Uber stock's going to drop by 20%. There's no question about that. It's going to drop. It might drop more than that, but they're going to lose money unless they say, hey, because here's the deal: it can pass the Senate, and if it passes the Senate, it's going to drop, but then it will recover, because then it will depend on what the governor does. Because the governor could say, look, I'm not going to sign the legislation. And if he doesn't sign it, then it doesn't become law, but then you're going to have an issue with lawsuits now forming. Because the fact of the matter is this: AB5 is necessary to give clarity and guidance on what the Supreme Court already ruled. The Supreme Court, they said, hey, independent contractor test is ABC now. That's the law, period. It is. But AB5 has to go into place because the legislature needs to give greater guidance. If AB5 is not passed, it's going to throw this whole thing of worker classification into disarray for a huge number of drivers, not just rideshare, but for doctors, attorneys, truck drivers, limo drivers, hairstylists, barbers, anyone that gets a 1099. A lot of those jobs will be reclassified as employees, because the language states that unless they are, no, it won't. Assembly Bill 5, what it does is it clarifies the rules. Assembly Bill 5 specifies that unless the worker is deemed an independent contractor as per Assembly Bill 5, that person is automatically an employee. To be considered an independent employee, the work that you do, your work classification, doctor, attorney, direct sales professional, barber, whatnot, your craft has to be included on the exemption list that will be included in the codes, the labor code. They're trying to amend. They're trying to add a new section to the labor code. That's what Assembly Bill 5 is for. They're supposed to be vote. They're supposed to be going into discussion with it next month. They're going to vote on it in August, and then after that, it goes to the governor's desk to be signed. Chances are the governor's going to sign it. Depending on what the governor does and how the rules go into effect, who knows? But I personally, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a legislator, I don't know any of this stuff, but worst case scenario, look, best case scenario, it could go into effect immediately. I doubt it will go into effect immediately because this thing will have a profound impact on too many businesses. You can't put a law like this into effect immediately. They could implement it in 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Since it already be passed July 1st, more than likely what will happen, the law will take effect January 1st of 2020. Another issue with Assembly Bill 5 is it may go into effect July 1st, 2020, but it will be retroactive to the date the Supreme Court decision was announced, which was in mid 2018. So those are the issues that we're dealing with. So it's going to be fascinating. So I hope that answered your 3 questions that you had. I do not support signing the petition. I believe that we are already employees. According to what I've read about the laws pertaining to us, the codes, right now, what governs rideshare? When you look at the codes, I can tell you what governs rideshare when it comes to the code. You have the Business and Professions Code, you have the Civil Code, you have the Commercial Code, you have the Corporations Code, let's see, the Financial Code, the Government Code in general. There's even the Health and Safety Code. There's the Insurance Code, the Labor Code. Let me see. There's something called the Public Contract Code, but I don't know. But you never know. There's a Public Resources Code, but who knows if there's something in there. The Public Utilities Code, obviously. Revenue and Taxation Code. Street and Highways Code. There's something in there talking about them. The Unemployment Insurance Code. That's a big code that's affecting this whole thing with Assembly Bill 5. The Vehicle Code. Those codes all have a direct or indirect impact on rideshare. Remember, code equals law. As simple as that. So what they're doing is they're adding a new code to the labor code. That's what Assembly Bill 5 is. Do the passengers know anything about this? More than likely they don't. All they're hearing about is Assembly Bill 5. And the only thing that the passengers will see or notice about this is if one day they open up Uber and either the app is not working in California anymore, or the rates went up substantially. If Uber wants to comply with Assembly Bill 5 right now, everything below Uber Black would be discontinued, because those rates those sections are not compliant with true independent contractor status, and then the rates and some elements of Uber would have to change. Lyft would be the company that would be most adversely affected by this. The only drivers who would be able to support Uber would be those with a TCP. So that means now you have Uber Black, Uber Lux, Uber SUV drivers who have TCPs on their vehicles. And I would tell you this, if all the rates stayed exactly the same and you were an Uber Black driver with an SUV, and you would have the right to turn off specific categories like you do now as an independent contractor, most of the drivers out there, they wouldn't take anything less than Uber Select. I can guarantee you that. because the rates for XL and X are just simply too low when you look at the cost of fuel, maintenance, and commercial insurance. When you combine that with let's say a vehicle like a Suburban, it's like, no, 64 cents a mile. Are you joking? It's not going to happen. Even Uber X and Uber XL and the rates that it pays, and then dealing with pool also. No, you can't. So it's not going to work. It's unacceptable, is what it is. You have a lot of Uber SUV drivers out there. They don't even deal with they deal with Uber Black and Uber SUV, and that's it. I froze. Why did I freeze? Why did I freeze?